Hello, dear. Today, we're diving into a story that will shake your heart and make you reflect. At the center is Zuwena, a girl whose journey from loneliness and ridicule to success and inspiration will leave no one indifferent. Ready for a powerful dose of motivation? Let's go!
Zuwena became completely fixated on one idea. She had to gain weight. Why? Because she thought it was the only way anyone in her village would accept her. She pushed herself to eat way more than her body needed. Huge portions of yam, fufu, and palm oil stew at every meal. Picture this. Zuwena sitting in front of a mountain of food, sweating, forcing spoonful after spoonful down her throat. She was desperate to change herself into someone the village would admire. But guess what? No matter how much she ate, the weight just wouldn't stick. Now Oshana wasn't just any village, it was unique. Every woman there was big, bold, and carried their size with pride. This was their norm, their tradition, and it was celebrated. Women were told their size honored their ancestors and made them more desirable for marriage. Generations had lived by this belief, completely unquestioned, until Zuwena came along. Zuwena's parents, Jaha and Afolabi, were respected by everyone. They were kind and generous, and when Jaha got pregnant, the entire village was buzzing with excitement. Her pregnancy was smooth, and when their baby girl arrived, they named her Zuwena. But here's the twist. The moment the midwife held her up, the room went silent. Zuwena wasn't like the other babies. She was tiny, delicate, and didn't have the round, chubby cheeks everyone expected. The murmurs started. "Is she sick?" someone whispered. But the midwife shook her head. "No, she's healthy, just different. The gods have their plans." Jaha and Afolabi adored their daughter and gave her everything. But as Zuwena grew up, her differences became more obvious. While the other girls blossomed with fuller figures, Zuwena stayed slender, almost otherworldly. Her eyes sparkled with a unique light, but this didn't stop the whispers. From the moment she could walk, Zuwena was teased. Other kids would point and call her names like Stick or the Slim One. They left her out of their games, and when she tried to dance, they'd laugh. "Your legs are too skinny for this dance," they'd sneer. "Go play with the boys." Ouch, right? Her heart was heavy with loneliness. Most days, she'd escape to the fields, crying where no one could see. Her parents noticed her sadness and tried to help. "You're special, Zuwena," her mother would tell her. "The gods gave you your own kind of beauty. One day you'll see why." Sweet words, but they didn't help much. Zuwena still felt like an outsider. One particularly rough day, after a storm of teasing, she ran to the riverbank and cried her heart out. That's when Mama Tari appeared, the village healer, wise and mysterious. "Why are you crying, little one?" she asked. Zuwena wiped her tears. "I'm not like them. I'm not beautiful. I'm too skinny and too different." Mama Tari smiled gently. "Child, the gods never make mistakes. Every tree, every person has a purpose. Your difference is your strength. One day the world will see it." For a moment, Zuwena felt comforted, but the teasing didn't stop and it wore her down. She became obsessed with gaining weight, convinced it was her ticket to acceptance. She started eating even more, forcing down food until she felt sick. When that didn't work, she turned to the other girls' secret remedies. They whispered about herbal concoctions that could supposedly make anyone gain weight. One day, Dara handed her a jar of some murky potion. "Drink this 3 times a day," Dara said. "You'll see results in no time." Desperate, Zuwena gulped it down daily, ignoring the awful nausea and stomach cramps. "This is a good sign," she told herself. "It must be working." But instead of gaining weight, she grew weaker and paler. Then the breaking point. One morning she woke up dizzy, drenched in sweat, barely able to stand. Still, she forced herself to take another dose of the potion. As soon as it touched her lips, a sharp pain shot through her stomach. She collapsed, clutching her abdomen, gasping for air. Her parents rushed in, terrified. Jaha screamed for help, and soon the whole village gathered. Mama Tari pushed through the crowd and knelt beside Zuwena. What did she take? She demanded. Dara stepped forward, trembling. She drank the weight gain potion, she mumbled, ashamed. Mama Tari's face darkened. Foolish girl, she snapped. These mixtures are dangerous. What works for one person can kill another. Quickly, Mama Tari got to work, creating an antidote. Zuwena was barely conscious, drifting in and out of the noise around her. For 3 days, she lay in bed, feverish and weak. Her parents stayed by her side, praying she'd survive. On the 4th day, Zuwena opened her eyes. Mama Tari was there, stern but relieved. "You're lucky, child," she said. "The gods spared you, but only just. Never try to change what the gods gave you. Your body is a gift, even if you don't see it yet." As Zuwena grew into her teenage years, the village buzzed with excitement. It was time for the annual dance festival, the biggest event of the year. This wasn't just about dancing. It was a showcase of beauty, charm, and talent. The young women of the village hoped to impress potential suitors or at least earn admiration from the crowd. Zuwena poured her heart into making a dress for the festival. She worked for days with the finest fabric her parents could afford, weaving something that was simple yet elegant. When she finally tried it on, even her mother gasped. "Zuwena, you look like a goddess," Jaha exclaimed, her eyes wide with pride. But the festival wasn't as magical as Zuwena had hoped. The moment she arrived, the whispers started. "Look at her," someone said. "Who does she think she is with those tiny legs?" Zuwena tried to keep smiling, but every laugh, every side glance hit her like a knife. When the drumming began, she stepped forward, ready to join the dance. But the other girls weren't having it. "This isn't your place," Naya, the most popular girl, sneered. "Go sit with the elders. Maybe they'll appreciate your bones." The crowd erupted in laughter. Zuwena's face burned with embarrassment. She couldn't take it anymore. She turned and ran, tears streaming down her cheeks, until she reached the old abandoned shrine at the edge of the village. There she collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably. Suddenly, a voice broke through the silence. "Why do you cry, Zuwena?" She looked up. It was Mama Tari, the village healer, stepping out from the shadows like some kind of guardian angel. "I'm tired, Mama," Zuwena cried. "I'm tired of being different. I'm tired of not belonging." Mama Tari nodded, her expression calm but wise. "Life is full of surprises, child. What feels like a curse can turn out to be a blessing. Trust the gods and trust yourself. Your time will come." And boy, was Mama Tari right. Zuwena's life was about to take a wild turn. A few weeks later, everything changed. A stranger arrived in Oshana. His name was Ekene, a tall, confident man from the city. He was a talent scout for a big-time modeling agency and had come to see the village's famous festival. But while the other women's curvy figures caught his attention, it was Zuwena who truly stood out. He spotted her by the riverbank, graceful and quiet, like a rare flower in a field of trees. He walked up to her with a friendly smile. "Hello, I'm Ekene. I couldn't help but notice you. You have a rare kind of beauty, something different and special. Have you ever considered modeling?" Zuwena blinked, confused. "Modeling? What's that?" Ekene chuckled. "It's a career where people like you with a unique look showcase clothes, jewelry, and products. I think you'd be amazing." Zuwena hesitated, her heart racing. "But I'm not beautiful," she whispered, looking down. Ekene shook his head. "Who told you that? The world is big, Zuwena, and beauty isn't just one thing. Trust me, you're something special." That night, Zuwena couldn't stop thinking about Ekene's words. She told her parents about his offer. At first, they were hesitant. "The city is different from our village," Afolabi warned. "It can be harsh. Are you sure you're ready?" But Jaha saw something in her daughter's eyes, a spark of hope she hadn't seen before. "If this is what you truly want, Zuwena, we'll support you," Jaha said. And just like that, Zuwena decided to take the leap. She packed her things, hugged her parents tightly, and left Oshana with Ekene. As she left, Mama Tari handed her a small charm and whispered, "Remember, child, you are special." The city was like nothing Zuwena had ever seen. It was loud, fast, and full of towering buildings that seemed to touch the sky. The streets bustled with people rushing around, and the lights made night feel like day. Zuwena was overwhelmed but also amazed. Ekene took her straight to his agency, where she met his business partner, Ifeoma. Ifeoma, a former model, gave Zuwena a skeptical look. "Are you sure about her, Ekene?" Ifeoma asked, raising an eyebrow. "She's not exactly the type we usually work with." Ekene grinned. "Exactly. She's different. That's what makes her special. Trust me, Ifeoma, she's going to be a star." Reluctantly, Ifeoma agreed to give Zuwena a chance. The first few weeks were tough. Zuwena had to learn everything: how to walk with confidence, pose for the camera, and carry herself like a model. It wasn't easy. The city girls with their perfect hair and towering heels whispered behind her back, mocking her awkwardness. But Akina didn't let her give up. "You've got this, Zuwena," he said again and again. "Just be yourself. That's what makes you shine." Slowly but surely, she found her groove. Her walk became stronger, her poses more natural, and before long, photographers and designers started noticing her. One day, during a photo shoot, everything changed. A famous fashion designer, Mrs. Olabisi, walked into the studio. She was on the hunt for fresh faces for her new collection. As she scanned the room, her eyes locked onto Zuwena, who was nervously adjusting her outfit. "Who is that?" Mrs. Olabisi asked, pointing to her. "That's Zuwena," Ifeoma said dismissively. "She's still learning." But Mrs. Olabisi wasn't listening. "Let her step forward," she said. Zuwena nervously walked up, her heart pounding. "There's something raw and real about you," Mrs. Olabisi said, smiling. "I want you in my new collection." And just like that, Zuwena's life transformed. "Who is that?" Mrs. Olabisi asked, pointing at Zuwena. "Oh, she's our new girl from the village," Ifeoma said with a wave of her hand. "Still figuring things out." But Mrs. Olabisi wasn't brushing her off. She leaned in, intrigued. "Let her step forward," she instructed. Zuwena approached nervously. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest. "There's something about you," Mrs. Olabisi said, smiling. "You have this raw, natural quality. I want you to model my new collection." What? Zuwena couldn't believe her ears. This was it, the moment she'd been dreaming of. She accepted, her nerves tangled with excitement. And just like that, she was swept into one of the city's biggest fashion shows. And let me tell you, Zuwena owned that runway. The audience gasped as she walked with elegance and confidence, wearing one of Mrs. Olabisi's stunning designs. People couldn't get enough of her unique beauty and graceful presence. By the next day, her face was everywhere. Magazines, social media, newspapers. Everyone was talking about her. Offers poured in from top designers and brands. Zuwena, the once teased and rejected girl from Oshana, was now a city sensation. But with success came challenges. The modeling world wasn't all glitz and glam. Zuwena had to face jealous competitors, the pressure to maintain her image, and the endless scrutiny of the public. She attended glamorous parties and mingled with celebrities and wealthy elites, but something always felt off. One night, after a long day of non-stop photo shoots, she sat alone in her luxurious apartment, staring at the city lights. Despite all the fame, all the success, she felt empty. She missed her home, her parents, and even the laughter of the children who used to tease her back in Oshana. A knock at the door snapped her out of her thoughts. It was Akine, her mentor and the one who had brought her into this world of modeling. He could see the sadness in her eyes. "Zuwena, are you okay?" he asked softly. She sighed. "I'm grateful for everything, Ekene, but sometimes I feel like I don't belong here. I miss my home." Ekene nodded. "I get it. The city can be tough, but think about how far you've come. You've inspired so many people with your story. Don't let a little loneliness make you forget your journey." His words hit her hard. He was right. Zuwena realized she had the power to bring her two worlds together. That's when Zuwena's mission began. She started using her platform to speak out. In interviews, she shared her story, the struggles of growing up feeling different, the beauty standards in her village, and how she learned to love her uniqueness. People loved her honesty and vulnerability. Her words resonated, especially with young girls who felt like they didn't fit in. Then came the big moment, her return to Oshana. After months in the city, Zuwena decided to visit her village. She was nervous. Would they welcome her? Or would they still see her as the girl who didn't belong? But as she walked into the village square, she was shocked. A huge crowd was waiting for her, cheering her name. Children ran up to her, laughing and waving. The women, yes, even those who had excluded her, came forward with open arms. Her parents stood at the front, tears streaming down their faces. And there was Mama Tari, smiling like she had known this would happen all along. "See, child," Mama Tari whispered, "didn't I tell you the gods have their plans?" Zuwena hugged her parents tightly, overwhelmed with love and acceptance. And then, Zuwena stood before the crowd to speak. "I left this village feeling like I didn't belong," she began, her voice strong and steady. "But now I know every one of us is unique, and our differences make us beautiful. Beauty isn't just about how we look, it's about how we feel about ourselves. Don't ever let anyone make you feel less for being different." Her words hit home. The villagers nodded, their eyes filled with pride. Zuwena wasn't just the slim girl who left Oshana. She was a symbol of courage, strength, and self-love. Her visit brought big changes to Oshana. Zuwena's story went viral and people started visiting the village to see the place that raised a supermodel. More importantly, the women of Oshana began to embrace their own unique qualities. The young girls who had once teased Zuwena now looked up to her as their role model. Even Naya, the girl who had mocked her at the festival, came forward, tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Zuwena," she said. "I was wrong to judge you. You've shown us what true beauty really is." Zuwena smiled and hugged her. "We all learn in our own time," she said warmly. Before she left, Zuwena did something incredible. She used her earnings to build a community art and learning center in Oshana. She called it Mama Tari's Wisdom House, in honor of the healer who first helped her see her worth. The center became a vibrant place where young girls and boys learned skills like modeling, photography, and public speaking. It gave them opportunities Zuwena had never dreamed of as a child. Zuwena's journey had come full circle. The girl who once cried by the riverbank was now a beacon of hope and strength for millions. Her story proved that true beauty isn't about fitting in. It's about standing out and embracing who you are. And you know what? That's a lesson we can all learn from. Never let anyone tell you you're not enough. You are enough just as you are.
Friends, Zuwena's story isn't just an inspiration. It's a call to action. Don't try to conform to others' expectations. Embrace your uniqueness. The world is waiting for your version of beauty and strength. Remember, you are enough to shine right here and now.